Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamani Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Ramannasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham. Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu Me Bho Rama Mamuddhara Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam. Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram. Om Shri Chinmaya Satgurave Namaha. 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 We were seeing the 13th chapter, Bhagavad Geeta, where we were trying to split our time between the commentary written by Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji for verse number 2, and part of it we said we will discuss the values. Last session we didn't get a chance to come to values, so this time let us start with the values, and later part, if we get time, I will recap what we discussed in the last session and then go to the Bhashya part. The values in Hindi, they are called as Jeevana Mulya, essentials of Jeevanam. What makes a person valuable, that is this Mulya. It is something which is very, very important for Jeevan Mukti. Jeevan Mukti in the sense that when a person studies Advaita Vedanta, comes to know that he is blissful self, in his transactional life, will he be happy or not? That is decided based on how much he has worked on these values. So that which makes life sweeter, those are these 20 plus values. And Bhagavan says these are jnana sadhanani. Jnana sadhanani means these are the means for non-dual truth. Means for gaining knowledge of non-duality. Means is not intelligence, means is not even memory. According to Bhagavan Krishna, according to Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji, the means for gaining non-dual truth is the ability to live life of values. And he says, closer our life is to these values, closer we are to the truth. Further we are away from these values, life is full of darkness, life is full of ignorance. Means minus these values, true knowledge cannot come to that person. Morality and non-duality. You see, the first step is morality. Second step is non-duality. It cannot be other way around. First non-duality, then morality. The fertile ground for that seed of non-duality to sprout is morality. Then we had also seen, not in the last class, but the class before, what are some metrics of spiritual progress? How do I know that I'm moving in the right direction? One of the litmus tests is what is the quality of my joy in life and what is the source of my joy in life. If that source is more and more independent, don't depend upon, I don't have a long list of things. Only when I have these things, I'll be happy. As those things become fewer and fewer, that is one metric of progressing further. If that source becomes our regular sadhana, that is one notch above, then all worldly joys, getting joy from japa, dhyanam. If that source becomes Bhagavan himself, that is one level above sadhana, because there is no action involved. If you read Navada Bhakti in Ramcharitmanas, after fifth sadhana, which is japa, there is no action given as sadhana. It is only this awareness that I belong to God. This awareness that I am one with Bhagavan, that thought gives him joy. But the main point here is sadhaka should question, where is my joy coming from? As the source becomes purer, as the source becomes higher, that is one metric of spiritual growth. Now, somebody might say these values, we all know what they mean. We know what is truthfulness, we know what is humility, we know what is unpretentiousness. Why do we need to discuss so much? The thing about values is, it is one thing to know what is a value, but another thing to know how to cultivate it. And totally different thing to appreciate how to live it. What is a value, how to cultivate it, and how to live it. In fact, in any group, this can become a very good topic for discussion, either in Bal Vihar or even in study groups. Take one value and just discuss on that and go deeper and deeper until we get an insight that this is how this value can be lived. Otherwise, you'll notice there are many contradictions. When you directly try to apply a value, you will notice that we cannot apply it in a very copy-paste manner. For example, one value is Matru Devo Bhava. Mother is God. If you notice the way in which Bhagwan Rama practiced it and Bharatji practiced it, both were different. Kaikeyi's mother, Bhagwan looks at her in one way. Not even once he feels she has done anything wrong. And Bharatji, from the time he hears what she did, he doesn't call her mother. If somebody such great personality like Bharatji is doing something, it just shows that one value will apply very differently in different situation for different people. That is why the vichar, mananam part is needed for values. Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Geeta, doing yajna is a great action. Doing yajna is a great action. One has to do it. In fact, the first time he goes out into the world after his study, Bhagwan Rama, that is to protect Vishwamitra Rishi's yajna. Tadaka he kills in that first outing. What is the value there? Performing yajna is the right thing. Later in Ramayana, when Meghanad and Ahiravana, they are doing yajna, Bhagavan comes and destroys that yajna. You ask Bhagavan, you make up your mind. Is yajna good thing or bad thing? Bhagavan says, no, values cannot be applied linearly like that, in a binary way. Yajna which is done for greater good, that yajna I protect. Yajna which is done for destruction, I don't hesitate to destroy. Like I destroyed Daksha's yajna. Yajna which is done with lot of pride or for erroneous reasons. Ahimsa paramo dharma. Non-violence is the greatest quality. Bhagavan is so sensitive, he tells Valmiki Rishi, for me, when you tell me a place to live, please tell me a place where no Rishimani is harmed. Means my presence should not cause inconvenience to a Rishi. That is his sensitivity. And if you see the fury with which Bhagavan fights Ravana. Now, Ahimsa, when it comes to Valmiki Rishi, is one perspective. When it comes to Ravana, it is a different perspective. So the point is, every Jeevan Mulya, every value needs mananam. And it's a great joy to do it. Let us chant the verses together, or we can repeat it, but we'll chant verse 7 through 11. Amanitvamadambhitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham स्थैर्यमात्मविनिग्रहः इन्द्रियार्थेषु वैराग्यम् अनहङ्कार एव च जन्म मृत्युजरा व्याधि दुःखदोषानुदर्शनम् असक्तिरनभिष्वङ्गः पुत्रदारगृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु मयि चानन्ययोगेन भक्तिरव्यभिचारिणी विविक्तदेशसेवित्वम् अरतिर्जनसंसदि अध्यात्मज्ञाननित्यत्वम् तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम् एतज्ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यदतोऽन्यथा एतज्ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम्. These are called as jnana sadhanani. Jnanam here refers to means of knowledge. Ajnanam yadatonyatha. If somebody is living a life different from these values, that life is full of ignorance. One is knowledge cannot come, and that life itself is an ignorant life. Now the first quality mentioned here is amanitvam. 7th verse, first word, amanitvam. Shankaracharya translates amanitvam as atmanah shlaghanam tad abhavah. Atmanah shlaghanam means the tendency to boast about oneself. Tendency to talk about oneself. The absence of that is called as amanitvam. Mana means ego. Amana means egolessness. That is another very precise and simple way to look at it. And here ego refers to the colloquial ego. We are not talking about Ahamkara of Vedanta. That is this Amanitvam, where person doesn't feel pressured to talk about oneself. Puja Gurudev has a beautiful quote where he says, "Renounce the ego is the only request from the Lord. I will make you the Lord is the promise." Renounce the ego is the only request from the Lord. I will make you God is the promise. Meaning what? Mahavakya. Tat Sat Tvamasi. To establish the sadhaka in this knowledge is the responsibility of Bhagavan. He says, what is the responsibility of sadhaka? To give up this pride. In fact, if you take any religion, whenever it comes to their sadhana part, the main emphasis will be this: God alone is the doer, we are nobody in front of him. Letting go of this mana, this pride, that is the quality of Amanitvam. There is a nice anecdote in the life of Janak Maharaj. He was a great king, had lot of wealth, lot of power. He goes to study under Ashtavakraji. The initial thing is Ashtavakraji comes to his court, but then he formally went to him to study. Janak Maharaj says, okay, teacher, what is the first lesson? Where can we start? Tattva Bodha, Atma Bodha. Ashtavakraji says, your first lesson is go and get bhiksha. For lunch, go and get bhiksha. 5 homes you have to go, whatever they give, you have to take. Janak Maharaj says, I will work and get you what you need. Feeling little hesitant to go to people and ask. Ashtavakra Rishi says, that is the first lesson on the spiritual path. He says, spiritual journey begins with destruction of ego and ends with destruction of ego. And when you're asking, the target is your ego. What is stopping us from asking is that ego. He says, when you go and beg for food, that will be the first lesson. Beginning and end of spirituality is in burning the ego to ashes. That is his first teaching to Janak Maharaj. Now, the thing we have to reflect upon is, Amanitvam is good. That is what we need in our life. But how will this quality come? Because one thing we have to remember, our inherent blissful nature already has all these qualities. What is covering it right now is some erroneous thinking. So when we say practice Amanitvam, it is actually not the right way to phrase it. How can you practice humility? There are some blocks in our thinking which are making us pride, which are making us proud about few things, which are bringing pride. If through right thinking I am able to remove that pride, what remains is Amanitvam. Otherwise, it's a very subtle thing. We will become proud of Amanitvam. What was supposed to remove everything, that will become another cause for bondage. So what is that block in our thinking which makes us proud? If somebody is talking about themselves, if I talk about myself, what is that block in my thinking because of which I start talking about myself? What is Amanitvam definition? Atmanaha shlaganam abhavaha. Atmanashlaganam means talking about oneself. Tad abhava means absence of that thing. So if amanitvam has to come, how should we work upon this quality? First reason for amanitvam is when a seeker, when a sadhaka looks within, he realizes, really speaking, there is nothing to be proud of. Really speaking, there is nothing in any of my activities which I can take credit for. Why is that? Because he just starts and looks deeper. If let us say this person did something at home, organized some program, everybody came, they were so happy, they started praising it. He starts thinking, where is this thought of I arranged this event at home coming from? To arrange that event, first thing which I needed was this body. And this body I did not create. I don't even know how it runs inside. We have Blender, right? Different settings are there. Sometimes I think if Bhagavan had given that setting for human beings, digestion, if you want, you have to press the button. Just like we forget so many other things, we would have forgotten human functions also. Bhagavan says, you leave it. I will take care of it. You just live your life. So when we look at this body, we realize body is by God's grace. Now that thought of arranging that program at home, if you look deeply, really speaking, we don't have control over thoughts. Thoughts rise from unmanifest, avyakta. Which thought is going to rise when? So we never know. So if good thought has come, sadhaka feels that came because of God's grace. Sankalpa, if it is Shubha Sankalpa, we should always give the credit to Bhagavan. This is Bhagavan, you brought the thought, you gave me this body, filled this body with energy to work. And I alone could not have done it. You sent so many people to do it. And if there are 15 minds working on one event, one project, if that project has to reach a conclusion, everybody feels it is God's grace. Because 15 minds can think in different directions. One mind thinking different direction, final result would not come. So after that program at home is done, if he starts feeling, I did it, he has to start thinking, really speaking, what did I do? Body, energy, mind, people, resources. There is so much uncertainty there. Even if one thing was missing in the equation, final result would not come. And as a jiva, I have control over none. My own body, I have no control. Headache has to come, it doesn't ask me and come. Mind has to think differently. It will just think. Somebody else's mind has to think differently. Zero control. Now you see what has happened here. There is Karta, doer. There is action, karma. There are instruments of action, Karana. And there is result of action, karma phala. Doer is there. Action is there. Instruments of action are there. And result of action is there. Karta, karma, karana, karma phala. In all these four things, he says, none of these things belong to me. In either one, if I have insistence, if I have lot of attachment, let us say with Karta, I am the doer, then Amanitvam is very difficult. Mana will start coming from that attachment. If I have strong attachment towards result of action, that result has to be mine. Then also I cannot have Amanitvam. But the moment I feel none of this belongs to me, all of these belong to Bhagavan, there is no push for that sadhaka to be proud of any of these four things. If you just look at it, what are we really proud of? Either we'll be proud of our accomplishments, or we'll be proud of ourselves first, Karta, or our abilities, Karanam. I can do this, I can do that. Or the way in which we are doing it, Karma. The way I do it, nobody can do it. Or what I have done, Karma Phala. This poetry that I wrote, this essay that I wrote, was the best one. In all these things, if somebody feels it is only God's grace, that quality brings Amanitvam, or that understanding brings Amanitvam. The point to note here is Amanitvam is not something to be practiced. Amanitvam is result of understanding. Tulsidas Ji's contemporary was Rahim Das Ji. And somebody comes and tells Tulsidas Ji that Rahim Das Ji is such a great Dani, such a great generous person, but his style of giving is whenever his hand is raised to give, his head turns down. Whenever he is raising his hand to give something, his head bows down. Meaning what? He doesn't see the person to whom he is giving dhanam. So Tulsidas Ji writes a very nice doha for him. Aisi deni denaju, kita sikhe Hossein. Such kind of giving, aisi deni denaju. Where did you learn kita sikhe? Oh friend, where did you learn this? Jo jo kar uncho kare, tyon tyon niche nain. As in when your hand raises to give, your eyes look down towards the earth. Rahim Das Ji answers in the second quarter of the Chaupai. He says, Dena har koi aur hai, jo bhejate dinarain. The one who is real giver is somebody else, who has been sending to me day and night, more than what I asked. Log bharama hum par dhare, yate niche nain. But people falsely think I am the generous person. So that I don't get this pride, I start looking down. That is Rahim Das Ji. Same thought. Amanitvam, how did it come? With this understanding that real giver is Bhagavan. In Odisha, there is Jagannath Ji's temple. And the Gajapati Maharaj over there, very pious person. One of our Swamiji was sharing this. There is one ashram close by. And there was some inauguration to be happening. So our Swamiji had gone to our ashram, but there was this inauguration happening a little bit further away. So they had gone to Jagannath Ji's mandir, and Gajapati Maharaj Ji, he was supposed to meet that Swamiji at the temple. And then they said, both of us will go to that inauguration. Now, the moment they started going towards the street where that inauguration place was there, Gajapati Maharaj said, I have to run another errand. I will take another route. But you take my car, another car I will take and go. Now, our Swamiji and one more secretary of that mission, he was there. Only both of them, and this whole street is lined up, thinking that Gajapati Maharaj is coming. And they didn't know that it's already gone, different route. So people are offering garlands, they are offering flowers. And inside our secretary is sitting and the Swamiji is sitting. He said that time that Swamiji was saying, my thought was, I know none of this is for me. Because they think this is Gajapati. At least I'm in ochre robes. Our secretary is wearing regular clothes. So they thought he is Maharaj. And thinking that they were offering very nicely. But you see, even if that is coming, that respect is coming, what is the thought? That this belongs to him. It doesn't belong to us. Quietly we should sit, reach our destination, do our job and come back. He said the same thought if we can have in every accomplishment of our life. Every good thing that happens, anything which is our ability, that none of this belongs to us, really speaking, it belongs to the Lord. So Amanitvam is a result of understanding real doer is Bhagavan. If you read Sundarkanda, when Hanumanji comes back from mission, whatever he has accomplished in Lanka, comes back, Bhagavan Rama praises him. And the chaupais that Hanumanji says, they are very beautiful. He says, Bhagavan, you know we are not even human beings, we are monkeys. What is our greatness? Saka murga ke badi manusai, sakha te sakha parajai. Our expertise is not in finding anybody, our expertise is in jumping from one branch to another. Nagi Sindhu Hataka Purajara, Nisichara Ganabidi Bipina Ujara. I jumped across the ocean, found Sita ji, burnt Lanka, and you are praising me. Whom are you praising? That monkey who knows only to jump from one tree to another. Bhagavan, in my understanding I am very clear. So sabatava pratapa raghurai. Whatever I did was just your grace. Natana kachu mori prabhutai. In this there is nothing great to be proud of, because really speaking, everything was done by you. Hanumanji gives few more details, which is not captured in Tulsi Ramayana. He says, Bhagavan, I will tell you. First, when we started, all of us started getting tired. Swayam Prabha was there in that cave. I did not send Swayam Prabha. You sent her. Then when we all were sitting on the shore of the ocean, we did not know what to do. In the front there was ocean, back there was Sugriva. Sampati ji comes, whom you only sent. Jatayu brother, he gives them the direction. And in Lanka when I reached, when I was searching for Sita ji, no clue. How did Vibhishan ji get up at the right time in the morning, coming out, taking Ramanama, and I had to be there to see him? Who brought us together? And when tail was on fire, it did not burn me, but burnt Lanka. He says, Bhagavan, I am not saying this just out of emotion. This is a fact. Whatever has been done by your pratapa. That is this Amanitvam. So in what things he doesn't see any sambandha? In Karta, doer, in the action, karma, in the instruments of action. And instruments of action is Karana, and the result of action, which is karma Phala. That is the first way by which Amanitvam comes to a sadhaka. Second is those things in which we don't give too much importance. We don't feel like bragging about those things. Wherever mind has Mahatva Buddhi, it will talk about that thing. One example, just to understand, is, let us say, the point we are trying to reflect is, presence of an object doesn't mean we have to become proud of that object. Somebody might be there who has lot of resources, lot of wealth. But that presence of wealth with that person doesn't make him mani, doesn't necessarily make him proud. If he doesn't see, if he doesn't relate great importance to that wealth, in spite of that wealth being there, he will still be amana. One simple example is, if let us say somebody likes branded clothes, branded clothing. Now one person is there who considers that as supreme. If you don't notice it, somewhere he will bring and say that this is branded. Another person wearing the same branded clothes but doesn't have mahatva buddhi for it. His topic of discussion will be something else, not this. So amanitvam, the second aspect is whether we have mahatva buddhi or not. Wherever we have mahatva buddhi, wherever we, okay, another word for mahatva buddhi you put, because it might confuse. Mahatva buddhi means taking something as great, but misplaced greatness. Another meaning for this quality is shobhana adhyasa. Shobhana adhyasa means we feel this thing is going to define us in a good way. This thing is source of joy. Some worldly thing. Huh? As long as that quality is there, as long as that thought is there, this person cannot help but talk about it. Shlaga has to come because he is seeing that as his metric of defining himself. All of you are familiar with that Mullah Nazaruddin story, right? Gets a new kurta, his friend comes, borrows his kurta. Wherever he goes, he's talking only about the kurta. This is a very great friend, but that kurta is his, not mine. He says, why do you have to talk about that kurta? Because Shobhana Buddhi is there. You will see this if there is somebody, let us say they love astronomy. And let's say that person happens to live in a beautiful house. If you go to meet that person in the house, he will not talk to you about the house. 3 hours he will spend in the backyard, that one telescope which is there. He will talk about that, how beautiful it is, how you can see the stars. See, both objects are there. House is also there, telescope is also there. What is the difference? Where does he see Shobhana Buddhi? Where does he see? Where does he relate more importance to? If he relates importance to house, he'll speak about house. If he relates more importance to something else, he will speak about that thing. Now if that something, if it is Bhagavan, then that is the greatest. The point is, if somebody doesn't attribute too much greatness to material things, amanitvam is seen in that person as vairagya. If somebody doesn't attribute greatness to material things, in spite of those things being there, you will not call that person as humble person or amani. We will see that person as virakta. This is where the example of Janaka Maharaj is quoted, where he is in the midst of all those things, but he tells Vishwamitra Rishi, other than Brahman, my mind doesn't go towards anything. That much confidence he has on his mind, and he says, these two boys who are there, Bhagwan Rama and Lakshmanji, for some reason my mind is just getting pulled towards them. Means what? They have to be Brahman. He asks Vishwamitra Rishi, am I right? Vishwamitra Rishi He answers in a bit diplomatic way. He says, if you have said something, how can you be wrong? But the point to note there is, in spite of wealth being there, in spite of power being there, position being there, none of these things are bondage. The moment we say this is mine, moment we start defining ourselves with it, that is when it becomes manitvam. That is when it becomes bondage. Absence of that thing is amanitvam or vairagya. Okay, so two facets we saw. How is this value cultivated? First facet was, whenever we realize there is nothing to be really proud of, everything belongs to Bhagavan. Karta, karma, Karana, karma Phala. Everything is his. With that, person has amanitvam. Second one is, whenever we don't attribute false importance to objects, towards those things, we will really speaking have vairagya. That is another facet of amanitvam. Now, why is this value important? What mana does to us is, it kind of creates a boundary around us. Ma means to measure. How pramana word is formed? In the same way, abhimana is also formed. Abhitaha mana means he is measuring himself with respect to something. Now, there are only two things, right? Atma and Anatma. If somebody is abhimani, can he really speaking, or is he really speaking, measuring himself with respect to Atma? Actually, he cannot, because Atma is infinite. How can he measure himself with respect to Atma? He cannot define himself as an abhimani. He cannot become proud of being Atma. Then what is he really speaking, measuring with? Anatma. Some Anatma we have held on to, which could be body, abilities of the body, could be the mind. With some erroneous thing, we are defining ourselves. Now, this measurement scale of mana, he moves around in this world with that measurement scale. I am such and such person, Atmanah Shlaganam. On a scale of 1 to 10, he says I am 9.5. Almost there. You take any field, different people will have different areas where they rate themselves. Now when he goes out into the world is also having a scorecard. If I thought I'm a good singer, 9.5. When I sing, world also will start rating that person with their scorecard. And the rating that the world gives is 3.5. So mana was 9.5. What he received was 3.5. That gap becomes his apamana. Actually, he could be happy. Just he wants to sing, go and sing. What has gotten him sorrow is not singing. What has gotten him sorrow is this thought that I'm a good singer. Defining himself with singing. That singing having some opinion that world gives is contrary to it. That is the stress. And if he thought himself to be 6, world gave him 9.5. That is sammana. Feels proud. What we really need is neither abhimana nor sammana. What we need is swabhimana. Swabhimana means this person has lot of sensitivity towards self-respect. The point to note here is amanitvam doesn't mean having low self-esteem, lacking self-confidence. Amanitvam is humility with confidence, but at the same time having self-respect for some higher altar. So in music, it will be for music knowledge itself. If somebody is insulting music, he says, Amani is not somebody who will keep listening to it. Okay, do some more. Satiji says in Ramcharitmanas, if somebody is insulting your Shraddheya, either you walk away from that place or know how to respond. That is Swabhimana. So in Daksha Prajapati, he keeps on insulting Lord Shiva. This is the Chaupai she says there. If your Shraddheya is being targeted or insulted, her Chaupai is Katiya Jibu. Katiya Jibu means you cut that point knowingly, not literally. Or Nayanda Mundi Yahi Chaliye Parai. Just close your eyes and walk away from that place. That is this Swabhimana. But what is the fallacy of Abhimana? It will create false boundaries for ourselves and make us very vulnerable. Now that person went to sing, so many good things happened there. He met so many good people. But when he comes out, that Abhimana is sufficient to give him sorrow. Means whatever disappointment came, Apamana happened because of his own Abhimana. That thing is sufficient to unhide all the good things. So imagine the vulnerability with which this person lives. Okay. Another side of this quality, the importance of this quality is, when we are talking about Advaita Jnanam, non-dual truth, unless our mind is able to let go of worldly things, that highest philosophy will not appeal to us. So the first 2 points also, if you see, if we have strong insistence on doership, strong insistence on how great I am, talking about that non-dual truth, which is the substratum of this creation, talking about our own infinite nature, that knowledge will not settle down well in that person. So that knowledge becomes an obstruction. All these are greatness of this quality of Amanitvam. In Sanskritam we have that saying, right? Vidya dadati vinayam. The sign of knowledge is Amanitvam. But otherwise also true. Humility brings knowledge. We can open ourselves to so many sources of learning which are around us, which includes objects, animals, people. 24 gurus of Avadhuta. If Manitvam is there, that learning doesn't happen. Manitvam is there, then it's like a cup kept upside down. You pour whatever water, not even one drop goes in. Turning that cup the right way, that is Amanitvam. Okay, so all these aspects are part of Amanitvam. Now let us see the Bhashya part a little bit. I'll just recap. Maybe today's session only recap we can do of what we covered last time. We were seeing the second shloka, second verse Bhashya, Kshetrajñam chapi mam vitti, sarva kshetreshu bharata. Bhagavan tells Arjuna, know me also as, know the Kshetrajña also as me. Okay, who is Kshetrajña? Kshetrajña in simple words is Jiva. The words that we are familiar with, Kshetrajna is I, Ahamkara. The one who talks, the one who hears, the one who thinks. That I, Bhagavan says, that I is consciousness. That I is Ishvara. What is Kshetra? Body is Kshetra. Although this whole universe is Kshetra, he says you can interact with that universe only when this body is there. And in this body we reap the results of actions, karma phala. That is why this body is called as field. There is one example that Madhusudana Saraswati ji gives in his Gita commentary. It helps clarify the point why Shankaracharya ji interchangeably uses consciousness with Ishvara. So when he says Kshetrajñam chapi mam vidhi, mam there refers to Ishvara, and Ishvara refers to consciousness. So he says that Jiva is nothing but Shuddha Chaitanya. But many a times what happens is, our understanding is Ishvara is always Saguna Ishvara, with attributes, either with form, and we find it very difficult to say, even if you say, see God in creation, you say, how should I see Bhagwan with bow and arrow or peacock feather and flute in the river, in mountain? So Madhusudana Saraswati ji gives a beautiful example. He says, if there is a face and there is a mirror in front, face is getting reflected on the mirror. So Ishvara is the face. The mirror which is there, that is the conditioning. And the reflection of that face, that is Jiva. Okay? Ishvara is Bimba. Bimba means the original. The medium which is there, the mirror which is there, that is the conditioning. Maya, Upadhi. Maya you say, or Avidya, Upadhi. And the reflected face which is appearing in that mirror, that symbolizes Jiva. Now in this whole example, where is pure consciousness? Ishvara. So Ishvara and consciousness, they are one and the same. Now somebody might say, why is that? He says Ishvara is somebody who is unaffected by conditioning. This is the main point. Ishvara is unaffected by Upadhi. Therefore, you can directly equate Ishvara all the time with pure consciousness. So whenever Shankaracharya uses the word interchangeably, this is what we have to remember. Ishvara is Chaitanya, essential nature. No Upadhi is really speaking affecting Ishvara. Jiva as though gets affected because of his limitations of intellect, limitations of conditioning, and impurities and vasanas. You'd give whatever reason. Ishvara's nature is consciousness, essential nature. What is Jiva's essential nature? Same consciousness. Reflection is not different from original. Reflection is appearing there because of medium. There is nothing independent of the original which is existing separately as reflection. So with this much, we had seen that equation. Ego, Jiva, Kshetrajna. All these are synonymous terms. That equals consciousness plus conditioning. Okay. So from Aham, from ego, if we remove conditionings, what remains? Shuddha Chaitanya, Ishvara. That's what Bhagavan is saying. This Kshetrajna, really speaking, is Ishvara. It is getting this title because it is erroneously identifying with conditionings, which it is not. Okay. There was a question last time, how important it is to pay attention to all these technical words. Jiva, Ishvara, Kshetrajna, Aham, Mahavakya. Thing is, unless our vocabulary is precise, our communication cannot be precise. That's why if you hear doctors speaking about simple things, difficulty solving, they say he has dysphagia. So what does he have? When they use that word, it helps them communicate better. Although first time it's a pain to learn. He says, just tell difficulty solving. He says, no. Specific word, specific meaning. Like that in Vedanta, we have all specific words. Okay, and they will remain the same all the way until Brahma Sutras. So that equation we had seen. Then a Purvapaksha came. He was very upset. How did you say that Jiva is Ishvara? How can you erase Jiva like that and say what is there is only Ishvara? There is no Jiva at all. He said, what are the problems that will happen? First problem, he said, if Ishvara comes and sits in place of Jiva, Ishvara will become samsari. Jiva is samsari, we can accept. But if you say Ishvara is, that Jiva is nothing but Ishvara, then Ishvara will become samsari. Now you make that connection in your mind. Essential nature of Ishvara is pure consciousness. Every time we don't have to repeat it, but there is beauty in using the word Ishvara. In Chaitanya, that beauty and the impact is not felt. Ishvara will become samsari, that is his first objection. Second objection, he says, if you erase samsara like that, if you erase samsari like that, samsara also should get erased. Because samsari and samsara, they are connected. Experiencer and experienced, they are connected. Only when Ahamkara is there, only when I wake up and I become aware of this world, do I perceive this world. So both are interlinked. If you say that there is no samsari, there is no Ahamkara, how come my samsara is still there? How is your samsara there? He says, joy I am feeling, sorrow I am feeling, praise, insult, all those things are there. And what you removed is the experiencer. Ishvara cannot have samsara. Then what should have happened was, if samsari is removed, samsara also should have gone away. But that is not my experience. Pratyaksha anubhava virodhat. That is not my experience. Samsara is very well there for me. Then third thing he says is, if scriptures are addressing, they are not addressing to Ishvara. They are addressing to Jiva only. And if you say there is only Ishvara, no Jiva, then whom are scriptures addressing to? Ishvara is not ignorant. Jiva is ignorant. Then whom are scriptures addressing? Scriptures will become meaningless. Shastra anarthakya. Purposeless they will become. That is his third objection. Shankaracharya answered it in a very simple way. He said, what you are saying is also true. What Bhagavan Krishna is saying is also true. What you are saying is from the standpoint of ignorance. When we are in ignorant state, we perceive the world in certain way. And on realization, when knowledge dawns, enlightenment comes, that same samsara is seen differently. With this understanding, you can answer all your questions. What was his proposition? Because I have these three objections, Ishvara cannot be Jiva. or Jiva cannot be Ishvara. That was his point, Purva Pakshi. Bhagavan is saying, no, Jiva is Ishvara. And your experiences that you are saying, that samsara is there, all of that is avidya kala anubhuti. Those are the experiences at the time of ignorance. When knowledge dawns, that same samsara is understood as unreal. So person getting frightened with illusory snake, but it doesn't know it is illusory. Starts sweating, starts getting afraid. That is his experience during ignorance. You can't deny it. You might say there is nothing to fear. He says, whatever is happening, only I know. Then when he comes to know that there is only rope, even if he sees the snake, he doesn't have the same emotions. So with this understanding, we can appreciate and we can resolve all your three questions. You don't have to say, Jiva is different from Ishvara. Don't arrive at that conclusion. Then Bhagavan Shankaracharya gives a lot of quotations just to show that during ignorance, truth and the world both are seen differently. Truth is almost unseen and samsara is very well seen. And at the time of knowledge, truth becomes the most evident thing and samsara is looked upon as a dream. Then the student said, okay, both viewpoints are there. Can I keep my viewpoint? You keep your viewpoint. Shankaracharya said, no. The whole point there was we should move from ignorance to knowledge. We should move from darkness to light. Seeing samsara as samsara is nothing great. Understanding that the thread which connects all these things is that pure consciousness. Paying attention to that consciousness, that is real sadhana. Okay, so we have to move from avidya to vidya. So all these points, they are really speaking very simple and very precise to understand Advaita Vedanta. What we need here is repetition. Then you will get very familiar. Compared to last session when we discussed, today everything must be seeming very simple because you've already gone through it. Next Saturday, I'll be in Sacramento. I'm having a yajna there, but I will do the morning class from there. So those who are coming in person, please don't come in person. We'll do it online from there. Okay. This is short semester and we'll pause a little early in December. So I thought as many classes we get before the winter break, we should take the advantage. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. If you have any questions, please to write them down. If we get time in the next session, we can discuss towards the end on this technical part of Bhashya. Okay. Hari Om, everyone. Those who are joining us online.